Hi Will, hope you had a great Christmas. As promised, here's the quick video just showcasing a couple of things I've noticed that potentially if you change or tweak could help you with your UX. So obviously there's no obligation with this or anything else, and I just thought it might be useful, and then if at the end of it you want to have a chat with me to understand more about those elements, then I'm happy to. So I'm just going to jump in and then I'll send this over to you and then hopefully we can have a chat. Okay, so the first thing, let's have a quick chat about the good points, which there are many. I mean, the colours are good, the layout is generally good, there's clearly some good UI elements in this site. It's been clearly designed by someone who knows what they're doing, and that's a great start. I mean, the fonts are good, the fonts are standard, the photos are good, the images are relatively good, there's some interesting elements. There's some, in general, the buttons are good as well. There's a couple of strange things. The illustrations are good, but there's a couple of strange things, and it's the layout which is letting you down here. So not the design as such, but just how that information is organised and presented. But that's the thing that I'm good at. But anyway, if I go through it. So first of all, the menu at the top of the page. So this looks a little bit dated. It looks a little bit kind of 90s for a menu. Also, you have a couple of elements on here that potentially you don't necessarily need. So ideally with a menu at the top of the page, you want to try and reduce the amount of menu items as much as possible, which may seem a little bit uncomfortable and abstract, but if this is your home page, you ideally want to build your home page in such a way that it's relatively long and it converts by the time they get to the bottom. So you don't want them to come to the home page and then start browsing to other pages that might have less thought. So you want to restrict the funnel and make sure that they are viewing everything on the home page and all the benefits and the call to actions and the information and everything else showcased on that page. So currently, elements that you might not need at this point, a blog, potentially how it works, or maybe get started, potentially even customer service. So you may be able to get rid of the menu totally and just have the main call to action buttons at the top. But that's something you test. But for the time being, let's just move on. The contrast is a little bit strange. So this colour green and this colour blue, there's something a little bit off with it. And I think that is kind of is summarised or highlighted by the content, the awards that you have here. So the awards are great, and obviously congratulations, and that's really good. But this content that you have here is a little bit washed out. The banner just looks a little bit thin, if that makes any sense. It's flat, which is great, so flat design. But I look at it and I'm unsure as I don't think I'm going to read this. I don't think I'm going to read this. I may read this, but it just seems a little bit off balanced. I think the logo doesn't help with that, with the .co.uk beneath it. I think if you remove that, you may find the logo, the banner just feels a little bit more balanced. There's something not quite right there. Obviously, it's great that you've got contact details in the top right corner and sign in your register, and that's great. But there's something that just needs a little bit of work there to re-establish the clarity of this banner at the top. Okay, on to the next thing, the image. The image looks a bit cheesy. It does look a little bit stock to me, and ideally you want to try and step away from that. It looks like it's fake. I think maybe the colour yellow is one colour too many on that jumper as well, and it clashes with the green and the orange to an extent, and it just seems a little bit off balance. No doubt there'll be plenty of images. One of my favourite websites is Shutterstock. You'll find lots of natural images of people around houses and that kind of situation that may fit better in that section. Onto the CTA here, a quick win. Lowercase text is easy to read and therefore converts higher. It's only a small win, and you might need kind of adjust it by 1% or so. But even so, if you can make this easy to read, then that's a good thing. You've got like a couple of seconds to grab the attention of a prospect when they visit your page. So if anything stands in their way, anything is slightly difficult, then it's just a barrier. So ideally something to change. Okay, the next thing to mention is that, I mean, I don't know how you're currently testing. You might not even be testing or iterating. as you probably know, a website is never finished, and you're constantly changing it, tweaking it, and improving it to make sure it converts better. And if you're getting enough traffic, then you should be A/B testing, and you can batch changes, and then see which test wins. But anyway, if you are doing that, then great. But this current banner, the tagline in here is great, but it's more about you than potentially about your customers. It doesn't grab me as quickly as it probably should. So a great tagline should be built around a benefit, a time frame, and an objection, and solving the objection. So ideally, you would say something like, "Sell your house fast in 3 weeks, or your money back," or something like that. And obviously, that's probably not what you solely do, but it taps into the psychology of how someone wants to see something that benefits them quickly. So 216 online estate agent of the year, that's great. You've also got the fact that you've winner here and winner here and winner here. So you're kind of maybe overselling that, I think, potentially. In 2016, we averaged 99.3 of asking price. That's great. That's really good. High street agents averaged 95. Again, that's good. The next element straight after your tagline that is usually presented is social proof. So behind every page there's a psychology, a layout of the elements that, if presented in a certain order, will maximize conversion. And it's this that I do a lot of work with, tapping into that type of thought process. So yeah, first thing is a benefit-based tagline. The next thing is social proof that you can actually deliver on what you can do. So it's it's proof that you're reputable as a business, and that a person like me, tribe mentality, that can step into your site and go, hey, this actually looks like something I want to use. So currently, that above the fold, this page doesn't have that, and it's something that you should probably take advantage of. Social proof can come in a variety of ways, be it logos or testimonials and everything else. I mean, these logos are great, but it's not really social proof. Something else, and this is something to consider as well, that ideally each page should have one main goal. I think you're aware of that. You've got free evaluation here and start selling. But ideally, the more options you have for anything, the more buttons you have, the more cognitive load on the viewer, the longer time they have to make a decision. The longer the time they have to make a decision, the less likely they will. So ideally, each page should have one main goal, and you should funnel them through that, and everything else should be removed. But again, this is the type of thing that you would A/B test to refine and improve and iterate upon to increase those conversion rates. Cool. Okay. So the next thing then, this section is good. I really like this. And again, you're offering people two options, which again is more cognitive load. It sounds ridiculous, I know, but if you're only offering person one suggestion, then they're much more likely to take it. But obviously, I think in this case, you can't change that. It's the order of this which is probably going to be your largest obstacle. I'm going to come back to this in a second. And we'll talk more about the general page psychology and the approach and the layout and how you can tweak that to improve it. So next session, you've got the customer service, #1 rated on estate agent, Trustpilot. That's great. So you have this picture of, is this you? I think it might be you. And you then see that you have a testimonial here, which is really good. So I assume that this testimonial is about this person. You have another testimonial here and another testimonial here. But these pictures aren't related to the testimonials. They say people, culture, processes, we invest in our team. So they're more benefits than they are testimonials. But you have testimonials here. So ideally, this kind of feels a bit lost. I'm not sure what it is. You've got Trustpilot, which instantly makes me think of testimonials, which you have, but you have this kind of section that falls in between them, which just doesn't really fit the rest of the design. So ideally, I would probably remove the culture and processes element and find some pictures of the people that have written testimonials, because that's great social proof. And then the way they're presented will make much more sense, and that will help massively. Next section. Okay, so before I go into this section, let's just have a chat the layout. So as I mentioned, that every page has a certain approach, a psychology that taps into the human kind of process of how they make and convert and make choices and convert. So that process is this. You have a CTA at the top of the page, your main value proposition. Beneath that, you have your social proof. Beneath that, you then have your problem. So what problem are you trying to solve for your clients? And that you don't solve it for them, you just say that problem so they can relate to the experience they're going through. So are you struggling to sell your house, or do you not like working with estate agents, or are you finding it difficult, or you haven't managed to sell your house yet? So whatever your kind of your main USPs are, hammer those home early on so the viewer understands and can relate to your business and potentially the problem that you may solve for them. So once you've discussed that problem, you then extrapolate on that problem. So what happens if you can't sell your house? What does that mean? More mortgage payments? You can't solve the problem of being in a chain. You can't buy your dream house. There's loads of problems that can be attached to the service that you sell, and it's extrapolating those there, which is important. So problem, extrapolate the problem, then you need to solve the problem with your service. So that's where you'd have your benefit-based copy that goes into detail about why your problem solves, why your product solves any problem. So it solves it for them in whatever way you can. Once you've solved it, you then prove it, and that's where you have a section like this, which has your testimonials beneath it. And it goes into detail about, obviously, the other people that have used your product and your service and why it was so good and everything else. And the bottom, you then have the CTA. So you've gone through everything, and then at the very bottom, you ask for what you want, be that the prices or anything else. So there's a layout and a structure to this. Ideally, your prices should be at the bottom once you've converted them to everything else. The benefits, the problem, you've solved it, everything else. They're in the best position to convert when they're at the bottom of the page once they've seen everything else. So if you have a price, that's where you put it, because that's where they're going to want to know, and that's when they'll be making the decision. It won't be making a decision at the top of the page, it'll be making a decision at the bottom of the page. Yes, so with that in mind, let's just go through this quickly. So potentially this would go at the bottom of the page, and that'd be something you test. Social proof, you'd have an amount of that at the top of the page beneath the tagline, and an amount at the bottom in the prove section. Meet the team. Now, although this is good, this is and it looks nice. Meet the team is your homepage is prime real estate, and the meet the team isn't particularly important to me as a customer. I mean, it's great to see that you're real people and everything, but this doesn't help me make a decision to use you or not. You would potentially have a separate team page and keep this page focused on the main goal, which is to convert those customers. This goes for this as well. This is, by the way, this has been loading for 10 minutes. It hasn't come through. But the virtual walkthrough is interesting, and it appeals to me as a bit of a tech geek, but I don't think this is going to appeal to people, the general public, that want to use your service. It's more of something that maybe you find cool, but might not suit your actual customers. Why choose this? Okay, so this is kind of related to the benefit section, or the solve section here. So this is you trying to solve your to prove to your customers that this is something that this product is the right customers, the right product for them. So we get the best prices, best customer service. So this is more about you than it is how you can solve the problem for your customers. So this should be more benefit-based copy. So this is where you would put get 93% of your, or 99.3% of your house value back. Get expert photographs of your house. Any benefit to the customer, this is where you would sell that to them. And currently, these are good points. Best advice, best visibility, we get the best price, best customer service. But they're more about you and less about them. Ideally, any content that starts with we should be rewritten to be more about your, because you don't want to be talking about what you do, but how you can help your clients and your customers. And that's kind of like a UX 101 element, and it's something relatively quick to change, but ideally you should spin that on its head, and you'll find that makes a huge difference to conversion as well. So this section is good. Featured in, ideally this would be towards the top of the page as something as social proof. This is a weird section. So ideally, rather than have a kind of a big empty blank section, you just actually have the video, and you'll find that massively helps rather than have the button of the video. That would probably look quite good there. I mean, obviously it would hide the picture of the house, but you'd find that people would play that video much more. And I mean, ideally you'd have the video right at the very top of the page, because there's a lot of stats that say people are 66 more likely to convert if they play the video. So, and if you want to grab them, you want to grab them straight away when they visit the page. So put that video high. Okay, next thing. So these are good. Yep, I don't mind those. So this is good as well, and this is almost in the right place. So this is extrapolating on the problem further, or what you're trying to do is alleviate any issues with your product for your customers, and you should be doing this at the bottom. So, and ideally you wouldn't have this toggled. You wouldn't have this carouseled. You don't want to hide the content. People won't click it. People don't like clicking through carousel images buttons. Ideally, you'd have a list, or you'd have toggles where people could find out more rather than hiding it in this way, and that'd probably be better for SEO as well. Cool. Okay, and then on to the CTA, which is great that you've got one. How much could you save? That's really good, and this is the right place for this. I would potentially look at maybe making this a bit larger. The button's quite small. And one element to mention as well here is ideally you want to hammer home your main value proposition again. So how much could you save? You would hammer home your main tagline based around benefit, the time frame, and addressing the objection down at the bottom here, because this is where they're making that decision, and you want to remind them of why you are the best company, best product to use. Okay. I think that's most things. So yeah, I mean the style is really good, and that's why a project like this I think I'm attracted to, is that you do a lot of work for people and they might not necessarily have the look nailed. I think you've got the majority of the look nailed. You just need to now start applying the UX best practices to start increasing conversion, and you'll see a massive difference. I mean, you can see that you're trying to do that, but it's just the order in which your content is shown is a little bit back to front and upside down. And don't get me wrong, this page will convert a percent of people, but this page could convert a lot more people. Anyway, I hope that helps. I'm happy to have a chat with you if you want to have a bit more of an explore about potentially how you would go about making these changes and what order and everything else. And that's something I do a lot of work with. But anyway, there you go. Hope to hear from you, and thanks so much.